Good afternoon on what is a grey, overcast but changeable day. It is Thursday, the 18th of August. I have a nice hot cup of tea and some parcels to unbox. And the first one I'm going to do is this. So, open this up. What we have in here is Manhunt, a scenario for MegaTraveller, part of Volume 1 of the Onnesium Quest. And this is published by Far Future Enterprises and has a little bit of an interesting tale behind it, because MegaTraveller has been out of print for 30 years. It was essentially the second edition of Traveller, as it were, in that it grounded the setting for Traveller, the Third Imperium, with a big event, and went forward by telling the story of what happened in the civil war that followed. That event being the assassination of Emperor Strephon, subsequently a timeline being explored by Steve Jackson Games with GURPS Traveller, in which he was not assassinated, but ultimately the timeline where he was assassinated will be further explored with Traveller 2048. Which would push the history even further into the future. Anyway, this is a scenario that was going to be published by Digest, the Digest Group, but it's basically sat on a hard drive for the best part of 30 years until the author found it, found that he could access it, and passed it to Mark Miller and Far Future Enterprises for it to be published. So, although MegaTraveller is a dead game, there's nothing more being published for it. There is this one final scenario. So, Manhunter, the Onnesium Quest begins. The Victory Belt, an asteroid belt with unbelievably high concentration of the fabulous Onnesium 118, a mega conductor and one of the most valuable substances in charted space. Is it merely rumour? Your players search for the only man who can answer that question in the first volume of the Onnesium Quest, or the Quest trilogy, Manhunt. This MegaTraveller brings you across parsecs of space, from the domain of Deneb to the restored Vellani Empire. In richly detailed settings and through exotic cultures, your players will start to unravel the mystery behind the enigmatic Victory Belt. So, on the back, there we go. I've got a blurb, and we've got an image of the classic 100-ton scout ship, or Seeker. Presumably this is actually a scout ship. So inside, immediately, long-time fans of Traveller and MegaTraveller will recognise the format, black and white, maps, and where are we? Basically planetary profiles, or actually that should be that way. That's what we've got, and essentially we have floor plans. That's of a submersible, but there is going to be spaceships in here. I'm pretty much sure, if I have a look through, we've actually got essentially a base. And so on. Can't find any starship deck plans, but I'm sure they're going to be in here. So this is going to be really interesting to review, because essentially nobody's looked at MegaTraveller in years. Not seriously, anyway. I mean, I'm sure there are definite fans out there, but this really goes back into Traveller's history. And we've got library data there, sector data as well, Trinsvale subsector, and we've got the starting world of Trin, all of the details there. So we've got an inner system profile, profile of the world as well. So you get quite a lot of information before you get started, and even right down to the settlement of Trinia. And it uses, essentially, here we've got the start of the scenario, and you have this essentially you have a sort of like a program, a spine of the story organised in this nugget fashion. I can't actually remember what they called it, but it was quite that way of organising scenarios was quite sort of like different when it was actually published back in the mid 80s. You know, obviously I can't remember because it's 30 odd years ago. So okay, so we've actually got sort of like an essentially expanded nugget. So essentially, each one of these different for each of the different locations and parts of the scenario. We've got an interesting little vehicle. Got a comet walker, so you've actually got to go and land on a comet and explore the comet on a walking vehicle. And then we've got actually got a research station on there as well, complete with, you know, cross section. And maps. These are fantastic. I do like this. And the thing is, this doesn't really necessarily have to be running Traveller. Technically, yes, absolutely does have to be running Traveller, but you could take a lot of this and apply the plot elsewhere. You know, use all these deck plans, and it would work in a lot of other science fiction settings as well. Really couldn't. I mean, for example, you could easily do it, say, for Star Frontiers. That would be quite fun. So we've got personnel as well, each with a nice little thumbnail portrait. And what's really great about this is you can see sort of like this is sort of the development, the physical development or presentation of the MegaTraveller products from the earlier Traveller ones, which are really very plain. You know, there's virtually no artwork, no illustrations of the NPCs. Like we have there, but here we have, and this is, you know, growing sophistication and design gone into this. You know, and then we get on to essentially the flight or fight. There's the escape section, and we actually encounter a corsair. So you've got pirates in there as well. And a rather nice illustration again, the shuttle, which appears in the scenario, and of course Sarah again. So decent illustrations. I mean, lots of the look and style of spaceships in Traveller and MegaTraveller very much influenced by Chris Voss. We're not the great soaring ones, but essentially that kind of style. And there we have the Type S Scout Courier. Then we go on to the next sector, the Kisa subsector. And the other thing to take note of about this is here we've got a map of the Corwood sector. In the Shattered Imperium. Now, what the setting, of course, for Traveller up until that fatal gunshot, which killed the Emperor and his family, it was the Third Imperium. The Shattered Imperium came about as a result of that and the various claimants to, it's the Iridium Throne, you know, feuding for the right to rule the Third Imperium, and of course, leading to factionalism and war, and ultimately the collapse of the empire and beyond, because of the technology that was developed. So yeah, this is the status of the empire, or the Corwood sector, as after the assassination. So we have details of world of, what's the name of the world is, Farnaz and the species of the Cure Apar. There we go, we've got like a size comparison there. And one of the things you kind of always sort of felt a bit with Traveller, certainly early Traveller, was it's sort of like some of the aliens were kind of, more obvious ones were bipedal and huge to the sort of like, you know, animals as humans. So you're looking at like the wolf like Vargar, or the lion like Aslan. But there are a lot of other races in the setting which are not not even bipedal, or, you know, or anything like that. So the Cuapa is an example of that. Then you've got things like the Hiver and the Kukri as well. And the Kukri are such a fun race. You know, imagine essentially a collective herd of militant vegetarian centaurs, and you have about the right feel. Again, more NPCs. Got nice deck plans for submarine there. Obviously a commercial submarine because you've got all the seats there. Or basically it's an underwater shuttle. And we've got essentially the archives there, and these you've got they are an IISS archive, so that means that's the Imperial Interstellar Scout Service archive, and yeah, so quite a lot here, and you've got sort of like an encounters there. The archive really sort of like getting towards the finale of the scenario. So it's all quite dense in terms of its layout, the style. So there's a lot of information to get through there, but it's going to be a big, interesting scenario. And once you've left the archive, you're on to the next world, and so basically Farnas to Antares, and it really is. Traveller tends to be sort of like, you know, a world hopping play to world hopping campaigns. Whether that's mercenary or mercantile, or generally sort of like just adventuring, that sort of thing. And then rounding this out, we have an appendix of player characters, complete with backgrounds and illustrations. That's quite nicely done. That's an illustration that's sort of like, I think that's appeared a few times. You've got 4 characters there, including translation robots, so you know wherever they go they can speak, and whereas I've actually been saying, oh, that's a scout ship, it isn't. It's as soon as I saw they included an ex-belter in there, I thought, oh, I don't think that's a scout ship. They are instead using a Seeker, which is again 100-ton ship designed for prospecting in the belts, you know, all asteroid belts are in the system. And then we have conversion rules, so basically you can translate it to Traveller for various stats, so it's backwards compatible. And then we actually have a bit of background. Actually, I really absolutely like this. We have Appendix D, wonderful things. So what's actually happened? This is no mere reprint. This is actually a reprint with commentary, explaining where it's come from, a history of digest publications, where the stories come from, how it came to be published, and I think it's a lovely bit of history to include it, and really appreciate that. It's a great inclusion. And then of course we have the deck plans. So we've got the deck plans of the long range shuttle and the Robin Ascendant, the Seeker, more or less a standard Seeker there. So yeah, and then we've got an advert for Antares Down Volume 2. I hope this comes out, but in the meantime, seriously looking forward to digging into this and reviewing it. And I really want to thank my friend Neve for lending this to me. She's a big Traveller fan, and I'm fond of the setting as well. And this, as a piece of history, is going to be interesting to really read and review. Anyway, I hope you have enjoyed this unboxing in the Nook. If you have, please do click on the like button down below. And if you've got any comments or feedback, I appreciate you taking the time to post those. And lastly, if you want to be alerted to yet more unboxings in the Nook, where you will see me out here with a parcel and a book or game which I will unbox and chat about to the best extent of my knowledge for roughly 10 minutes or so, all of course accompanied by a nice hot cup of tea, then please do hit that subscribe button down below. Once again, thanks for watching the unboxing of the Nook. I'll be back again soon with another one. Bye for now.